Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Marilyn Darling Show, and welcome to another episode of Calligraphy for Beginners. How is everyone doing today? Are you having a nice day? I hope you're having a nice day wherever you are in the world. Alright, we're going to share this with the patrons over on Patreon. If you guys are coming from Patreon, huge thank you to all of my new patrons. I really appreciate each and every one of you for keeping this calligraphy journey going. So, let's jump right in, shall we? So, let's see. Yesterday we learned that there are 7 basic strokes. Can anyone name the 7 basic strokes? Alright, they are the upstroke, the overturn, the underturn, the compound curve, the ascending stem loop, the descending stem loop, and the oval. Those are the basic strokes of minuscule calligraphy. People keep messaging me. Shut up, I'm busy. Go away. Sorry, I had to put them on mute. Alright, then we did some of the medium hard strokes. We did the reverse descending stem loop, the reverse compound curve, the C, the E, the R, the S, the Z, and the modified descending stem loop. Today we're going to be looking at the hard strokes. I know. It's going to be a journey for all of us. Today we're going to be learning the downstroke. I know, it seems like such a simple thing, but it comes in many shapes and many sizes, and we will learn about those. Today we're learning the K stroke, which is one of the hardest strokes. We're going to be learning the modified reverse compound curve, the double underturn, the double overturn, the L to underturn, the ascending stem loop to underturn, the R to underturn, the connecting stroke, the double compound curve, the oval. I know, we just did it. We're going to do a moderation of the oval, an iteration of the oval. I'm so sorry. We're going to do a modified double underturn. We're going to do a modified oval. We're going to do an X. And hopefully we will complete these strokes today. Alright, so let's get a new piece of paper out and start with these practice pieces. So we're going to have our pencil out. Handy dandy pencil. Nothing fancy here, folks. I'm just using a pencil right now. We will get into flexing probably if we finish this tomorrow. So, look forward to that. So we have, let's zoom in just a smidge. Okay, the first thing that we're going to practice is the downstroke. So, we're going to mark off our X height, and we're going to do a downstroke. The downstroke goes from the top of the X height down to the baseline on a 55-degree angle. So, you should have your clipboard with your guide sheet. And place it in there good. And you should be able to do this with relative ease if you're using lined paper. I highly encourage everyone to use lined paper when you first start out. And write as big as you can. This is college rule. We could probably even do a wide rule. This is wide rule. It's a little wider. So we're going to mark off our X height. And we're going to go from the top of the X height to the baseline. Skip a couple of lines, top line to the baseline. Why is this a hard stroke? Because when we do the hard stroke, we're going from the top to the bottom. We're going from the up position to the down position, and we're going to add pressure. So if you were going in the upward direction, you'd go very lightly, and when you're coming down, you'd put pressure. So you're going to put just a slight amount of pressure when you're coming down. We will get into why when we start to do flex writing. So just do a couple of straight lines. If your lines are a little wiggly, go a little bit faster. If your lines are all over the place, then try and go just a little bit faster. Okay, so this one would be a no. Make sure that you mark off the good ones. This one was a no. So I think that I like this one the best. And I like this one the best. This one had a little wiggle in it. Make note of the ones that you think are the best looking ones. Okay, let's drop 2 down. Let's mark off our X height. The next one that we're going to do is the K. Now the K is probably one of the most difficult letters to learn, and I am going to use a little bit of a middle of the let's see, yes, I am going to use just a little bit of a dotted guideline. So this is the middle of the X height. Now we did this yesterday when we did the E and the C. We started in the middle of the X height. Hi Obs, how are you doing today? I am so glad that you're excited, because calligraphy really isn't that exciting. But if you're excited to do it, that is great news. The K is probably one of the most difficult letters to do, because you have to make kind of the opposite of an E. Instead of starting in the middle and coming up and over, we're going to start at the baseline, and we're going to come up to the X height, and we're going to curve in. We're going to come down to that first quarter height, and we're going to come in to that line. And it kind of looks like an ascending stem loop. So it's kind of related to the ascending stem loop, but it's more closely related to the E stroke. Okay? So we're going to start at the baseline, and we're going to come up, around, and in, and touch that upstroke. But don't go past it, because the next stroke that we're going to do is we're going to come out, we're going to come up, around, in, and then we're going to stay with it, and we're going to come out, down, and upstroke. So the second part of this kind of looks like this. It's a very strange looking letter. If you've ever made a cursive K before, you know that it's very complicated. So we're going to come up, around, in, out, down, and up to the X height. Every time you do a letter, you always want to try and come up, back up to the X height. So that way you have consistency throughout your writing. So, up, around, in, and out, down, and up. Up, around, in, out, down, and up. So you want to come up, out, in, and then you come right back out to that spot, and then come down and back up. You don't want to be doing these super fast. There's no need, there's no rush. Take your time and just make them look nice. Okay, and then go through and check your work. This one was a little below the line here, so maybe not that one. But this one looks pretty good, so you want to give it a check mark. And then this one here looks pretty good, so you want to give it a check mark. Okay. So, the next one that we're going to be learning is the modified reverse compound curve. Why do we do the modified reverse compound curve? For letters coming from a W into an N or an M. So, again, with the modified, we're going to come down just halfway through this space at the 1/4. So this would be the baseline, this is the quarter, this would be the X height, the first ascender and the second ascender. Okay, so we would be coming from the X height to the quarter height, curve back up to the X height, around, and then down to the baseline. So you're making a reverse compound curve, but you're kind of stopping halfway and coming back up. So it should look like this. Okay? Yeah. It's a mouthful, that's for sure. So, from X height, come down to the quarter, back up to the X height, down to the baseline. So, X height, quarter, X height, baseline. X height, quarter, X height, baseline. X height, quarter, X height, baseline. And you see that we're following the lines that we have. If you can see your lines under your page, that is optimal paper. If you cannot see the lines through the page, I would encourage you to invest in something like a GDSOB. A light pad. Here somewhere. Here we go. You could invest in a light pad so that way you can see through your paper better, more better. So that way you can see what you're doing. Okay, so we're gonna start at the X height, come down to the quarter, back up to the X height, and down to the baseline. And you just want to follow these lines all the way through. X height, quarter, X height, baseline. X height, quarter, X height, baseline. And like I said, we're not doing these very fast. We're going very slowly. But a light box is definitely very useful. I got this one. It's very thin for like $10 on Amazon. Or if you're using J&B copper plate graph pad, this is excellent paper to use because it already has the guidelines, and it comes in a pad of paper. Let me see. Comes in like 50 to 100 sheets or something. This is great to practice with too. Okay, where am I? So we've done the modified reverse compound curve. Whew. I think we deserve just a little break. I'm gonna kind of stretch my fingers out a little bit. Do a little relaxation stretch. Big stretch. Okay. And then let's get back to it. Sorry, I'm found out a little late, but my graph pad is coming tomorrow. Oh, cool. I hope you like it. Yeah, graph pad is amazing. You can get so much real practice with the guidelines. It is a little distracting sometimes to have too many lines in one area. As you see, there are a lot of lines going on this paper. But if you can use a pencil and just kind of mark them out with your pencil, or even like a normal pen, make them darker so that way you stay within the lines that you want to practice in. That is very helpful. Yeah, it's a lot of lines. So you kind of want to mark off how big you want your lines to be. Now you could say that you can make your X height as big as you want. It just depends on what you want to do. We'll get into that later. Okay, for now we're going to practice on just our normal paper that we have available to us right now, because that's where you want to start. You want to start practicing these things right now. Okay, so let's drop 2 down. We're going to mark off our X height, and we're going to do the double underturn. So the double underturn is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to come down, we're going to go up, we're going to come back down, and we're going to go back up. You will see these in letters like I to Y, or T to Y, or D to Y. No, not D to Y. Yeah, D and T are the only ones I can think of that start right there. So this is kind of that practice. So we're gonna go from the X height down to the baseline, curve around, come right back up, hit that X height, curve around, come right back down, hit that baseline, curve around, come right back up to the X height. Okay? X height, baseline, X height, baseline, X height. X height, baseline, X height, baseline, X height. X height, baseline, X height, baseline, X height. And I don't know if you can see this, but this is straightforward from me. So I have my pad angled at almost a 60-degree angle, so that my natural dragging hand is this. If you're like trying to draw sideways, your arm's gonna get really tired. This muscle here on the side of your arm is gonna be very tired. So naturally, this is our natural motion from like this. So just tilt your paper so that way that this is an easier going than going this way. Okay? So, excite, baseline, excite, baseline, excite. Okay, so now we're going to do the double overturn, and you know, it's exactly the opposite of this. So we're going to drop 2 down, mark off our excite. We're going to start at the baseline. We're going to come up to the excite, curve around, come back down to the baseline, curve around, come back up to the excite, curve around, come back down to the baseline. We will see these in words like N to M, or M to N, or M to M, or N to N. So minimum uses this a lot. A lot of those types of overturn to overturn letters. So we're going to start at the baseline. We're going to come up to the excite, curve around, come back down to the baseline, back up to the excite, and then back down to the baseline. X-line, excite, baseline, excite, baseline, baseline, excite, baseline, excite, baseline, baseline, excite, baseline, excite, baseline. One more for good measure. Excite, baseline, excite, baseline, excite, baseline. You should have something that looks like an M, but it isn't an M. That's just a connecting stroke. Oh, so many things to learn. I know. We're all getting through it. Okay, let's drop 2 down. Now we're getting into some really hard strokes. So, you know how we did the ascending stem loop. Now we're going to turn that downstroke into an underturn. Okay. So we're going to turn. We're going to go from an ascending stem loop into a reverse compound curve, and you can even go further than that and do a double underturn. So, ascending stem loop, underturn, overturn, underturn, underturn. Ascending stem loop, underturn, overturn, underturn. Ascending stem loop, underturn, overturn, underturn. This will help with letters like L to Y or L to X, I guess. All right. Ascending stem loop, underturn, overturn, underturn. If you had an L to N, you would stop L to N. Okay. L to I. So it's really helpful to understand the iterations of how this goes into different letters. So this would be an L to I, L to N, L to V, or L to Y. This helps to quite understand which letters can be turned into which letters depending on which stroke you're doing. Okay, let's do R to an underturn. So we talked about the R coming from the first ascending stem, the first ascender, down to the X height and into an underturn. But instead of doing that, we're going to make it reverse. We're going to make a double underturn. So R stroke, underturn, overturn, underturn. R stroke, underturn, overturn, underturn, overturn. R stroke, down, up, down, up. R stroke, down, up, down, up. If you had an R to Y, you'd go R stroke to I. Or if you had an R stroke to N, you'd go and you'd stop there. Okay. You can have all different types of connections. Okay, the next one that we're going to do is the double compound curve. Might sound more simple than these, but it might sound a little more difficult because we're going to start at the baseline. We're going to come up, curve around, come back down to the baseline, come back up to the X height, back down to the baseline, and back up to the X height. So there is the double underturn, the double overturn, and the double compound curve. I know, it's very complicated. But you will find these when you're doing letters like N to Y, or M to Y. I think those are the only ones. The H, this will be an H to Y. Or an H to V. H to V. Who knows why anybody would ever do an H to V? Who knows? But, so we're going to go baseline, X height, baseline, X height, baseline, X height. Baseline, X height, baseline, X height, baseline, X height. Baseline, X height, baseline, X height, baseline, X height. One more for good measure. Baseline, X height, baseline, X height, baseline, X height. Phew. Alright, now we get to do some fun letters. Aren't you excited? So, Drop 2 down, mark off your X height. We're going to start with, we're going to do the letter O, only we're going to do a modified letter O. We're going to come in from the base height, we're going to come up to the quarter, we're going to come down, up, we're going to make an oval and go through the middle of that oval, back up to the X height. So, up, down, oval, and out. Up, down, oval, through, and out. Up, down, oval, through, and out. This is one of my favorite letters to write. And this is just a variation on the letter O. Up, down, oval, through, and out. And you see how I'm doing my spacing? I start in one box, at the corner of one box, come up to the first quarter height, down, up, oval. As soon as I touch that, I go through and out. So up, down, around, through, and out. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay. The next thing that we're going to learn is the modified double underturn. There's a lot of variation. What is that just a variation? Yes, this is a variation of the letter O. And we will see that ovals and the through ovals will have different results when we are writing words. Okay, so let's do the modified double underturn. Drop 2 down, mark off your X height. So we're going to come from the X height. Remember, we have this invisible line. We're going to come from the... we're going to start like this one, except we're going to finish it and make it look like this one. Okay. This is a really hard stroke. Come down from the X height to the first quarter, back up to the X height, down to the baseline, and then up. Why would we do something like this? This will happen in letters like the letter V to W, or V to Y, or sometimes R to W. So this has a lot of difficult. I want too specific. Oh, that's okay. We're going to go through all the variations that I can think of. So, we'll just have to kind of get the railroad tracks. We have to get the tracks down first before we can play with the train. You know what I'm saying? Alright, so we're going to start at the X height, down to the first quarter, up to the X height, down to the baseline, up to the X height. X height, quarter, X height, baseline, X height. X height, quarter, X height, baseline, quarter. X height, quarter, X height, baseline, quarter. You should do these really slowly at first. X height, quarter, X height, all the way down to the baseline, and back up to the X height. Am I going too fast? Does anybody need assistance? Alright. I don't see anybody chatting, so I think we're good. Let's see, this is great. Okay, good. Alright, let's drop 2 down and do our X height. This next one is going to be a modified, another modified oval or a reverse oval. So most of the time we do an oval, we do an oval, we start on the left side of the oval, but this time we're going to start on this side of the oval. So we're going to start on the baseline. We're going to curve up to the X height. We're going to come back down to the baseline. And we're going to curve out. So if we were to turn this upside down, it kind of looks like this. It might also kind of look like an S shape. But the reason that we do this one is this is a modified oval for the letter P. Okay, so we're going to start at the X height, come up to the baseline. I'm sorry, we're going to start at the baseline, come up to the X height, curve around, back down to the baseline, and then curve out, and then go back up to the X height. It should have said come back up to the X height. So, X height, baseline, X height, baseline, X height. Kind of looks like a weird oval, right? Very strange. Hi, Amy Alphabet. How are you doing? Base height, X height, baseline, X height. Baseline, X height, baseline, X height. So great. I'm so glad. Baseline, X height, baseline, X height. So you're basically making a little tiny loop inside of a reverse oval. Base, X, base, and then X. Base, X, base, X. This time you are crossing through that downstroke. Baseline, X height, baseline, through X height. Alright, so the next one that we're going to learn is the letter X. So drop 2 down, mark off your X height. Now you see how each of these little parallelograms are even to each other. And you see that each one of these strokes we've been doing inside of each of those parallelograms. Well, this time we're going to break the rules. Watch out, world. We're going to break the rules. We're going to start at the X height. We're going to come up. We're going to start at the baseline. We're going to come up to the X height. We're going to go through that next line, come down to the baseline, and then come right back up to the X height. So we're skipping a space. We're going to break the rules, that's right. We're going to skip this space. Does anybody know why? That's right, we're going to go through the X height, with a line. Now you want to make sure that this does have a little bit of wave in it, because otherwise it's just going to look like this. It's going to go like this, this, this. And can anybody tell me what this looks like? Yes, it looks like a very scary thing that we're not allowed to talk about. Cough, swastika, cough. So yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Yeah, the bad word. So we have to give it a little bit of wiggle. So we're going to come up, we're going to curve, just ever so slightly curve, come back down, curve, and then come back up. And then we're going to start and give it just a little bit of a wiggle. Okay, so baseline, X height, come down, come right back up, and then a little wiggle. You want to make it look like an X and not like something horrible from the past. So, baseline, X height, baseline, X height, little X. Baseline, X height, baseline, X height, little wiggle. Baseline, X height, baseline, X height, little wiggle. Okay? And I always try and go from the bottom to the top when I cross the letter, because one of the rules in calligraphy is you don't want to put two dark lines next to each other. So you'll go up, you'll come down hard, you'll go up light. So when you cross it, it'll be a light mark instead of having a dark mark on top of a dark mark. That doesn't look good either. We'll get into pressure another day, okay? So, let's turn the page. And now we get to do the alphabet. How's that? We get to learn the alphabet. Woo! I've already learned all of the basic strokes. Let's just go over them really quickly so we can kind of get an idea of all of the strokes that we've learned so far, so we can put them in order now. We have the upstroke, the overturn, the underturn, the compound curve, the ascending stem loop, the descending stem loop, the oval, and then we have the reverse descending stem loop, the reverse compound curve, the C stroke, the E stroke, the R stroke, the S stroke, the Z stroke, and the modified descending stem loop, modified descending stem loop. And then we have the hard strokes, which are the hard downstroke, the K stroke, the modified reverse compound curve, the double underturn, the double overturn, the ascending stem loop into a compound curve, the R stroke into a compound curve, the connecting stroke. Did we talk about the connecting stroke? No, we haven't talked about the connecting stroke. We'll have to do the connecting stroke. Okay. Then we did the double compound curve, the oval, the modified oval, the modified double underturn, the modified oval, the modified reverse oval, an X stroke. Woo! Yay, that's right. Woo, I think we've deserved a little stretch. We've had a half hour of me yammering about. Put your pens down, do a little stretch. It's always nice to have a little stretch in. Okay, so let's talk about the connecting stroke. Let's find a new piece of paper. Let's do the connecting stroke just really quickly. Oops, I did have a piece of paper in there. So the connecting stroke is something that we use when we're connecting letters to each other. And it's basically, we're going to mark off our X height. And the connecting stroke should be about on the quarter line. So we're going to mark off kind of our invisible quarter line. We're going to come from the top of the X height, to come down to that first quarter, and come right back up to the X height. And that is our connecting stroke. And it is a very simple stroke, yet a lot of people get it very confused with an underturn because they want to go all the way down, or they have no formal training of what the understroke does. See, this is a connecting stroke into an underturn. This is a connecting stroke into an overturn. So it's just basically these are just modified connecting strokes. This is just a regular connecting stroke. It's just a little tiny underturn. Just a little tiny underturn. Come from X height to the quarter, back up to the X height. Quarter, X height, quarter, X height, quarter, X height. And if you look at it from a side, it'll look kind of like a little check mark. But we're not making check marks. Okay, so now we can do the alphabet. Now, I think that we have earned to do some alphabet letters. What do you think? I think that we have learned everything that we need to know in order to do all of the minuscule alphabet. So let's... one last thing. Two last things. Let's drop down, mark off our X height. Now, we're going to go above the X height, and we're going to make a little dot on that first ascending line. This is our second ascending line. So right at that first ascender, we're going to make a little circle just above where that ascending line is, just slightly above it. We're going to make it just slightly above it. Okay, we're going to make, and this is called the tittle. A tittle is a circle, not a dot. It is not a dot. It is not a period, although they have the same shape. You want to go in little tiny circles. Start in the middle and do little tiny circles, and then circle back in. So if I were to draw this very large, it would look like this. Say this is the size of your tittle. I just start in the middle, come out, and then fill it in. Okay, but it's just little tiny circles, and then circle back in, and you'll know for sure that you have a circle. Okay, the last little thing that we need to learn is the dash or the cross it looks like that. Now, relative to the tittle goes at the space between the first ascender and the second ascender. So it goes there. Okay, it's kind of a weird place to put it, because if you were to write a word like the word little, your cross is going to go here, and your tittle is going to go there. Now, not always will your tittles go below your cross. Some people prefer to put their cross down here and their tittles above it. This is all preference. Just whatever you do, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't put them on the same wavelength. They need a little variation, because if you look at it, it almost looks like there's no tittle on there at all. So this will be very relevant when we start doing connecting of words. But generally, the cross goes about 9/10 of the way to the second ascending line. So somewhere way up here, and it's just a line. And as soon as we get into stylizing, we're going to turn that line and we're going to do all kinds of weird flourishing. Okay? So now I think that we've talked about everything to do some letter writing. Okay, so let's drop 2 down from there and let's start. Where do all letters start? So all letters start, when you're just making a letter, you're going to start with an upstroke. So we're going to start with an upstroke. And the first letter of A starts with an upstroke plus an oval plus an underturn. Now, here's one of the crazy rules about calligraphy. If you were to put this into practice, it would look like this. What's wrong with this? Can anyone tell me? Yeah, this little bit here is sticking out. And it should not be sticking out. Otherwise, this is going to look weird. So, one of the rules, with any time you connect to an oval, that you do a half of an upstroke. So you're going to go a half of an upstroke plus an oval plus an underturn. So, letters like A and D and E and O, all of those get a half of an upstroke, or they get a connecting stroke. So, we'll do a half of an upstroke, an oval, and an underturn. And we just made the letter A. Isn't that exciting? Give yourself a round of applause. You deserve it. Okay. Now, Are you all ready for a difficult letter? We're going to do letter B. Let's drop 2 down. Mark off our X height. We're going to do an upstroke plus an ascending stem loop. So we're going to do an ascending stem loop. Plus, we're going to do this modified reverse oval. Modified reverse oval. And that will look like this. Upstroke, ascending stem loop, reverse modified oval. Yay! We've learned something. We made a B. Isn't that cool? You could also make a B like this, or you can make an upstroke, an ascending stem loop, but instead of stopping, you're going to make an underturn and a connecting stroke. See this little connecting stroke? That is what we're using to make the B. I am so glad that you guys are having fun. This is so much fun for me to teach you guys. I just love teaching. I've had a teaching degree for, 20 years now. And I rarely used it because I was only teaching for 2 years. But I just love teaching handwriting. I think it's one of the little gifts in the world that I think that I have a lot of fun doing. So, okay, so let's drop 2 down and let's do the C. We've already done the C stroke, but since we're going into a semi-oval, we're going to start at the X height and we're going to come only up half the X height. We're going to start just across from that X height and we're going to come up, down, and spiral out. And we've made a C. So, oops, I didn't even describe how this is going to be. So we're going to do an upstroke plus a C stroke. So we're going to go upstroke, half to the quarter height, come around, touch the X height, and spiral out. Then come back up to the X height. Cool, right? Okay, let's drop 2 down. Mark off our X height. Now we're going to do a D. Now because it's also going into a round oval letter, it's going to start with a half of an upstroke plus an oval plus an ascending stem loop plus an upstroke. Or it's going to be an ascending stem loop into an upstroke. Kind of like the B. So we're going to go equals upstroke oval ascending stem loop upstroke. Or one of my favorite things to see is when they come to a hard downstroke and then they come from there and they do the sharp looking turn here. So upstroke oval ascending stem loop into a very round underturn. This will all depend on how you want to make your lettering look. And each time that you connect these strokes, you want to try and hide. It's like a very, very neat little trick when you can hide the strokes inside of each other because of the way that your pencil is. So when you do your upstroke, you're not making an upstroke And an oval, you want to see where the inside of these. Okay, I'm gonna try and do this without. I'm sorry if I'm making you all nauseous. You want to try and hide this little bit inside of that oval when you make it. So you're gonna come up, and you want to hide that part of the oval inside of that oval, so it's like hidden, right? And then when you do your ascending stem loop, Alexa, stop. You're gonna hide the bit of that stem inside of that oval before you do your underturn. So they're gonna be totally hidden inside of each other. Kind of like that. Cool, right? Okay. Let's see. Now the E stroke, let's drop 2 down. We're going to do the E. We're going to do it up. We're going to do it again with the oval. We're going to start quarter upstroke plus the E stroke. We'll start in the middle, come up, around, down, and spiral out like a C. So that will equal an upstroke, and then right into an E stroke. Now, you should always try your best to try and lift your pen. So when you're doing your strokes, do an upstroke, lift your pen, put it right back on that space, and then go into your movement. But if you can absolutely stay dead steady when you stop, it'll look better when you continue. So upstroke, stop, spiral out. Then you'd only had to hide where this letter touches right here. You want to make sure that your letter's not hanging out like that. Don't do that. Alright, so let's do the F. The F is probably one of the most difficult letters to do because we're going to do an upstroke, we're going to do a full upstroke plus an ascending stem loop plus a reverse descending stem loop plus an upstroke. And that will look like this. We're going to do a full upstroke, ascending stem loop, into a descending reverse stem loop, into an upstroke. Okay, now this is different from cursive because when we do cursive, it looks like this. Right? We're used to seeing that where it comes up through like this, but this is where it differentiates calligraphy from cursive. You want it to look a little weird. It does look a little weird. And once you practice doing it this way, you won't be able to do it any other way else. You're going to look at other letters and you're going to be like, oh, that's wrong. So, baseline, X height, ascending stem loop, descending stem loop, second descender, baseline, X height. And becoming a lost art outside the pen world. It feels exactly. Alright, let's do a G, shall we? Let's drop 2 lines down. Mark off our X height. And because it's going into an oval, we're going to do a quarter X height plus an oval plus a descending stem loop plus an upstroke. And that will look like this. Upstroke, oval, descending stem loop, upstroke. Now, this is one of the ones that you definitely want to stop right before you touch that stem, because otherwise, when you're using ink, you will drag the ink from here to here. You will drag the ink from here to here, and you will have a little blob in there, and you don't want that to happen when we get to ink. Okay. So, upstroke, quarter upstroke, oval, hiding all of the joints, descending stem loop, upstroke, quarter, oval, descending, upstroke, quarter, oval, descending, upstroke. Cool. Yes, no ink blobs. This is going to become very important when we start to see what happens when you have fountain pens that are very wet. Okay, let's do the H. How long have I been going? Ooh, 1 hour and 7 minutes. Okay, so we'll stop after H, and then we will, or maybe we'll stop after I. We'll just do this one page, and then we'll come back tomorrow, and we'll learn more lettering, okay? So, upstroke. So, because we're going into a stem, we're going to do a full upstroke, plus an ascending stem loop, plus an compound curve. Okay? And that should look like this. Upstroke, ascending stem loop, compound curve. So, you want to make sure that when you're going through these that you hide that connection. Come down, come away from, this is one of the only letters that you're going to come, instead of going straight up around, you're going to come at a bit of an angle away from that stem loop, so that way you can have some differentiation between the letters. So you're going to have kind of a weird parallelogram comes away from that stem loop, because otherwise you're going to have something that looks like this. And it just doesn't look right. So you want to come away from that stem as much as possible without making it look too sudden. Ascending stem loop. Come at just a slight bit of angle. Okay. It shouldn't be super drastic, not like this one, but more like this one. Alright, so let's drop 2 down and we're going to do the I. The I is probably of the simplest letters to do. It's just an upstroke plus an underturn plus a tittle. And that should look like this. I'm going to do an upstroke, an underturn, and a tittle. Upstroke, underturn, 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 tittle. Make sure that when you're doing your tittles that you're not just dotting them. Don't just that. Make sure and make your tittles a good circle. Nice round circle. Okay. Upstroke, underturn, circle. And the tittle. Well, I think that we have gone as far as that we can get today. Let's take a look at all of the things that we have learned today. We have learned too many things. Whew. We need some Taco Tuesday after this, let me tell you. Alright, so we have talked today about the upstroke, the overturn, the underturn, the compound curve, the ascending stem loop, the descending stem loop, the oval, the reverse descending stem loop, the reverse compound curve, the C, the E, the R, the S, the Z, the descending Z, the downstroke, the K-stroke, the modified, reverse compound curve, the double underturn, the double overturn, the L to underturn, R to underturn, or R to compound curve, L to compound curve, R to compound curve, the connecting stroke, the double compound curve, the modified oval, the modified compound curve, the reverse oval, and the X stroke. Hard downstroke, K-stroke, underturn, double overturn, L to compound curve, R to compound curve, double compound curve. Excuse me. The reverse oval and the X stroke. And then we did the connecting stroke, the tittle, the cross. And then we started with A, the B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. That is a lot of learning that we've done today. These lectures will be on Patreon if you want to check them out after today. When the class is finished, at the end of Friday, the classes will disappear from YouTube. But they will remain on Patreon, so that way you can go to the Patreon and see them there. Okie dokie. I will definitely be on Hemingway Jones later tonight to see you there. So, let me see, what did I do? Aha! So, that is all that I have for today. I want to thank you all for subscribing. You are the reason I do this. So thank all of you for participating and having a wonderful time learning with me. I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. I hope that you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media. Like, comment, subscribe. Ring the little bell. Make sure it's set to all so when I upload new content, YouTube notifies you, and I will be back very soon with another video. So, take care until then. I am going out to have Taco Tuesday. So, have a great day. Okay, love you, bye.